Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Ian Carlos Crawford.
I'm Ryan Houlihan.
I'm Kimberly and Southwick.
And I am Zachary Patton Garcia, and we are here to cover Season 1, Episode 19, Sanctuary of Angel the TV series.
So I want to know, I have very strong feelings about this. Like, I think 5x5 is the better episode, but this one makes me feel very strongly. So Zach, I'm curious, what did you think of this episode overall?
I did love it. I was super curious to watch it because y'all had such strong opinions about how Buffy comes in this episode, and I really wanted to see if I was going to, because I mean, it's been forever since I've watched these, right? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to see if I felt that, but also I think I kind of understand where you're at with it. That 5x5 is the better episode, but it's kind of two different sides of faith, right? Like, 5x5 is like the manic episode, and then this one is the come down, and you know, her like sitting with post spiral. It's almost like, as soon as we pick up with her, it feels like, you know how when you've just cried your eyes out all night, and then the next day you feel freaking exhausted, or like the hours afterwards you just feel exhausted. When she's in that elevator, she looks exhausted.
She does, yeah.
I did really like it.
Okay, Kim, what'd you think?
All right, so bear with me. I think it is a great Faith episode. I think it's a good Angel and Wesley episode. I don't like it as the Buffy. Like, I don't like Buffy's appearance at all.
Really?
I think she comes off like just bad. Like, I'm like not on her side.
We said this in the last episode, and I will repeat it here. Her number one objective with every line delivery is not like, I gotta communicate or I want to get Angel on my side. It's always like, I'm gonna be a bitch, and then there's like a secondary thing that she's like, oh, and I gotta convince this other character.
Yeah, it's like she's given room to kind of make up for how she comes in, but she like comes in like
she
literally singing. Yeah, and it's just like I understand that it's a crossover episode, and like, there are other things going on in her life, and they've had a very recent relationship that like fell out, but like, I don't know, like, I'm friends with all my exes. You don't got to be like that. Okay, not all of them, a lot of them.
Ryan?
I think if I have to pick an Emmy submission for this season, it's 5x5. But if I'm going to rewatch an episode, this is it. So take from that what you will. I think that the reason that this episode, the Buffy part of it bothers me, but I do love this episode so much. The reason the Buffy thing is my one nitpick is that I think she would have calmed down. I just think over the course of a night and talking to your ex, who's like, maybe things are tense, but he's comfortable, and he's like one of the only people who understands her. Like, your guard would drop, and maybe like, I get it. She felt very violated and she was in a rage, but I just think Buffy, the character that I know, would be able to have reasonable conversations. And it seems like she doesn't decelerate. But other than that, like, one thing that I think seems out of character, this is yet another episode where every part of Angel, even the Kate stuff, starts to really sing and work together. It's like it's all being written by the same team, and
finally
by people who've met each other, and like it really comes together in a way that you're like, yes, each of these pieces that shined at different parts of the season, like this arc is like, this is what a whole season could be. So do I have nitpicks with the Buffy thing? Yeah, but it's a great episode. My other comment is, Kate has to be such a bad cop, such a bad detective. All of them are. You haven't realized magic is real? What are you detecting? What are you detecting? Do you guys have to work with helmets on? Can you see clearly? Very confusing. Cops, I know they're not great at their jobs, but come on.
That is like one of the many reasons I don't like Kate, is just because like she's embarrassingly bad at her job, and then that's like all her character is someone who's bad at her job. Like
even as cops go, you're believing a lawyer? Like, it's very, that's all like, God, I hate them. But again, as part of the overall episode, it all just works.
It works. Yeah, it does work. And I want to clarify what Zach and Ryan both said. I actually do not think I I do not think Buffy's a bitch here at all.
I don't either. Okay, I'm waiting for it too. Yeah, I don't either.
I think Angel's the fucking bitch. I think Angel's a complete asshole. Like, I have never wanted her to stake him more than I wanted her to stake him in this episode.
Ryan, I'm with you.
Just expect it from Angel.
Yeah. I definitely, like, when we get to her entrance, I do want to have that full conversation about the bitch versus not bitch, because I love the way we're kind of split here, and I'm very excited to have that conversation.
And Zach, it's funny because I knew that I was like, I know Zach will be on the same side as me.
Absolutely. And we have become such great friends this year, and we think more alike than we have ever in the past.
And Ryan and I are about to become such great friends this year.
There you go.
Zach and I
powers activate.
But yes, as Zach said, we'll get to that part because that's not even till the last 20 minutes of the episode. So we got a while before we get there. But yeah, and another thing I want to say is these episodes, like, I think I once did a ranking for like Angel's Anniversary of like the 10 best. I really do feel like 5x5 and Sanctuary, even though they're very different, they work well as a whole. Like, it works really well as a whole. And I like that, like you said, Zach, the first part is like her manic spiral episode. And then this is like the come down. And like the more emotional beat actiony stuff comes once Buffy comes in. So
they don't fight. I have been saying this entire season, I can't wait for the Buffy Faith fight. They don't even fight. I don't know where it was in my memory, but I am very embarrassed that I've been saying it on your podcast for the past however many episodes.
I thought you just meant like, I remember when you said that, I thought you meant like their argument.
No, I thought they were going to fist fight. I vividly remember them fist fighting in my mind.
In your dream.
How could we never get a Buffy Angel themed fighting game?
I know, right?
Right? Like on GameCube, I feel like I thought that released, but it never did. What a good game that would be.
Chaos
it would be a good game now.
Chaos Bleeds did have a like very crappy fighting mode where you would just be like,
oh, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, you could pick like, and it was like, you are the chosen. I always remember that, like, if you picked up, I don't remember what it was, but there was an item that would say you are the chosen one, and it was bad because then you die. It meant you had like your life would expire within a minute. And then it always seemed like really cruel.
Wow. Oh man, I gotta do a feature retrospective on that game. All right, sorry, back to what we were saying.
So we open literally where we left off. It's Angel's taking her down in the elevator. Like you said, Zach, I think she looks really hot, but she does look rough. Like,
yeah.
She, Latoya mentioned this in 5x5. They like make her look paler than she actually is. Her makeup feels almost more intense. It's not like runny, but it looks more intense.
She was just in the rain.
Yeah. We get her, like, she lays down, she calls his name, and he's like, what? And we see a flash of her thinking of beating him up. She says nothing, which I think we do get. I can't remember which one. I think it's Who Are You, right? When she's in Buffy's body, like she imagines herself killing Willow. Yeah. Cut the credits, post credits. This part, I think this scene here is the first really great scene with Alexis Denisof. Like, I think he does some really good acting in this scene.
Yes.
And I think it's like they like didn't use him to his full potential because he sells this, I think, right?
Oh yeah. This is like totally a mirror of the usual scene we get, and it's so he really gives us a preview of what he's going to do with the character later, which is like invert all the things that were the top level things you knew about him. Like, he's boisterous, he can't stop talking, he's annoying. Like, he's going to turn that all on its head. And you get a little taste of it, and it's like, damn, I know where we're going into the darkness. We're Breaking Bad.
And like, it really breaks my heart seeing him like so bruised. And when he looks at Cordelia and she has that huge black eye, that like hurts my feelings.
And it's so wild too, because Faith is such a beloved character, but she really, whenever she is around and things kind of go south with her, we see a lot more aftermath of Faith's actions than we even see for like a lot of these monsters in these damn shows, and like we get like, Faith, they went through a pretty traumatic situation with Faith yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's just such an emotional moment just to see them even look at each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, Faith she knows them and they know her,
Yeah.
and like the people closest to you can hurt you in ways that are much more profound and worse than the random horrors you bump into at a house party or whatever.
Yeah.
And they all
like
kind of have a different relationship with her as
Yes.
well. Or like at least, especially in this scene, they all have kind of take a different perspective. Like Wesley literally calls her a bitch, which I don't love. I don't love him using that word.
No.
And then
I can say it. He can't say it.
and then he also says that there's evil in her. And that's like a really strong word coming from a watcher specifically.
Yeah.
Cordy's just like, sign these checks, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
You know, like.
But do you think that Wesley's sort of reaction to Faith in this episode is too much? Because I think it's very warranted. If somebody does that to you, you are the person in the room who gets to say whatever the hell you want to say about her.
I don't think his actual like reaction, like his opinions are too much. I think that those are two very strong loaded words. So it's interesting that he uses them to me.
And I think he ends up saying something different because he's emotional than what he is arguably allowed to say, which is like, I don't feel safe. I do not like her. I do not want to be around her. It makes me sick that you're spending your time worrying about her than about me, instead of she's evil. And like, I think it also speaks to how not wise, like, I think the British accent will fool you, how not wise Wesley is, because who are you talking to, bitch? This guy really has evil in him. We could pick it out of a lineup. Like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, of course there's evil in her. There's evil in you too, Wesley. I don't want to blow your mind. But like, and in Willow and in Cordelia, like, you know, people have bad, I don't know, that this highlighted for me that my reaction to Angel and Faith's horrible histories. Yeah, in the last episode, I felt like, not to, sorry, Kimberly, I don't mean to leave you out. You'll listen at some point, I'm sure. I felt like the sexual assault stuff and the fact that they were both just such irredeemable people was really driven home in a way that felt like really personal in the last episode. And it felt like heavy and it hung over the episode. And I didn't really... I kind of understand in this why Wesley exists in this plot, or like why they gave him such a big role at this middle point of the two Faith story, is because we need to remember that like just because we're feeling a certain way, it doesn't make it right. And like in the rush to judgment, like I would have done a lot of things to the person who like sexually assaulted me, for example, that I don't agree with as an abolitionist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think Angel's taking the long view of like, well, kind of what's best here. And I think, what's pragmatic here, how can we do the most good? And I think Wesley's like hurt, and it's like Alexis did a great job at really conveying that in like a real way, because he does sell it to a degree that you're like, I mean, he's got a point.
Right, yeah.
He's not wrong.
That is something that I really love about this episode, is I do feel like everyone has a good point. Like, I like that it's like the ambiguity of like, there's no one that's like 100% wrong. Because also,
it's like a family. Like when a family does an intervention, everybody's going to have a viewpoint and they're not all going to be right, but they're not all wrong.
Right, yeah. And like the way, and like you can feel the hurt, right? Because Wesley has every right to be so hurt, right? Like, I don't know that I agree with everything he said about Faith, but like, I would fucking feel the same way if she tied me up and cut me up. And then like, I go over to see Kim or Zach and they're both like, oh, the person that cut you up, I'm getting her donuts, NBD. Like, I would be furious.
Yeah. To everybody's point, like, we don't have to agree with the things that he says, because we know that he doesn't even agree with the things that he says. Right. He is just coming from a very hurt place, and that is justified. And honestly, you give him a pass for saying whatever he says, and because he comes and shows out at the end.
Yeah. And also, I do want to talk about the Cordelia of it all, because one, she's wearing the exact same top Buffy wears in Restless, which is so weird.
Weird.
Yeah, and so she wore it before Buffy did, because Buffy wears it. It would be the season finale of that season.
So off screen, Buffy borrowed that top.
Yeah. It hurts me to see Cordelia with a black eye, but like, it feels so Cordelia that she's like, yeah, he'll come around, sign these. Oh yeah, these are my paid vacation. Right?
The only person handling this correctly. The only person. Angel, maybe, I don't know. It's a little misguided. Glad that it worked out in the end. But Cordelia was like, I am prioritizing my material safety. I am setting boundaries. I am going to hold you accountable for the things you're doing and not doing right now.
I hope Charisma Carpenter truly went on a vacation, and that's
right.
That's where she was for the week.
Like her delivery there of like, all right, well, bye. Like it's like shitty enough, but she's not saying anything mean. She's like, just like pieces out. And while I would have loved Cordelia in this episode, I love that she really does leave and doesn't come back.
Sometimes it's better for the plot if the voice of reason has to be out of town this week.
Yeah. So Angel brings her some donuts. I don't know, but I don't know. I just really like the dynamic of the three of them. And like you said, Ryan, like Cordelia kind of does deal with it correctly. She's just like, I'm removing myself from this, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, in Wesley's defense, he tries to kind of, but we'll get there.
Right. Yeah, he does. He leaves before Cordelia does. And then this is when we get the Kate plot. And we kind of discussed this in 5x5, but like, this episode too still has the same amount of plots, right? Instead of flashbacks, we're getting the Kate plot. That's like filling that hole. And it does. Yeah. I don't hate the Kate stuff as much as I normally do. I still don't like her, but I think they do a good job with like what they need to do for that character.
The X-Files talk was a really good little moment. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yes. That when she's well written, I can overlook why I don't love the plot, but when it's not, it's just like it gets really hard. And it's tough because I really do think this actress is very charismatic and she has something to give us. The scenes where she's like one-on-one with Lindsay, I was like, God, she is mesmerizing, and they never use it.
I know. I do like those scenes. The one guy calls her Scully, and I like. And Kim, you've also watched the X-Files, right?
Not like religiously, but yeah, I've seen them. I mean, the fact that he's trying to engage her in conversation here and like kind of mentions, like has a little pop culture reference and like asks her a question, like what's going on? And she just doesn't answer and is like, Scully's the skeptic. And he's like confused, And then he's like, well, Scully's the chick, right? And like, you just like, you see her face and it's like, oh, like these are the kind of people that she's got to deal with,
Right.
And she's already trying to process that like supernatural things happen and etc. And it's part of her like life history that supernatural things exist. Now, like she's figured that out or whatever. So I think it's a really good scene. And I like how, I like how controlled she is in it's got that like that really good dialogue that we love about Buffy.
Yeah.
I cannot stand Kate. I cannot stand her. But like you said, the dialogue, it was really, really good here, and how she turns which was the I want to believe one. She's like, that would be Mulder, and I don't want to believe. I already believe, and I'm like,
yeah.
That's the problem. I was like,
that's some good stuff. I liked it.
It's good delivery too. Like she sells it.
Yeah. So we cut back to Angel. He finds Faith holding like a Michael Myers Ghostface level giant knife.
I love that Faith at any given moment is eyeing up the largest knife in the tri-state area.
Yeah, that's the first thing she does in anybody's apartment is she locates where the knife drawer is and organizes them by size. I want to talk about, can we please talk about why he decided to stick her in a windowless basement and let her just like, with like no stimulation at all, and just lets her
that's
stir.
Great for mental health.
She's clearly like not going to be sleeping. She's like just walking around the apartment all day, picking up knives. This is not going to end well if we keep her here.
Okay, so he's proving to her that he trusts her, that she wants to get better.
I trust you. You can stay in my basement. Don't leave my basement.
Told him that she's evil. I don't know. Angel's just evil,
Yeah. So it's like, this is the stuff for me that's a little bit, this is like the slower parts are the Angel and Faith parts, which we mentioned in 5x5. which is weird because they do work really well together. It's just when they're just moping, I'm like, all right.
It would work so well in a book that's like Angel and Faith in southern Italy, you know, and that sounds like lovely. But it is harder because like we've been pretty fast paced, and usually scenes that either of them are in are fast paced. Because if they're not being fast paced, the other person is, you know.
Yeah.
So it is kind of like a slower stuff, but I think it's important to give like gravity and weight to her character arc. We need these moments.
They're also like, one of the things that this episode does well is it doesn't linger where it shouldn't linger. Like we're not there for that long.
Yeah, I will say in rewatching, in my brain they did linger way longer. I was like, oh, these scenes aren't as long as I remember them being, but I think it's because my brain just wants to get to the Buffy of it all. So I'm like, come on, I want to see Buffy. But yeah, I think you're right, Kim. It doesn't overstay its welcome too much. And then we cut to our other plot, and it is wild that we have all these plots. It's Wolfram and Hart. Lila's telling Lindsay that, they're alive. I even like their little like back and forth of like, is he alive? Well, technically, no, he's dead because he's a vampire. Like, I do like that shit.
I was like, are they this catty and like verbose all the time? Just like on a random Wednesday, it's like, well, technically, like, guys, we have to get to court.
Kim, I'm curious. The three of us talked about in the previous episode. What do you think of their like dynamic, Lila and Lindsay?
I guess it's sold for me because I don't really have much to say about it, but they're definitely like the people like that and you care about most in Wolfram and Hart, so they stand out at that. I don't know. I guess I don't think much of it.
Okay, that's fair. Well, and I do like that. Then they're like, "What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?" And we cut to the guy that Lee Mercer, the lawyer that Faith beat up, and he's in like a fucking neck brace, all these things, and he's like, "Where's your killer?"
I love that nowhere in their healthcare plan is like a little magical speed up for the healing.
Yeah.
They're like suffer through it.
I will say I thought that the camera work was really good with this episode. So, for example, in the earlier scene we were talking about with Wesley and Cordelia kind of like removes herself from the camera when Angel comes in. So you're like, ooh, she's mad, And then in this scene, too, with them, like, they don't pan to the guy in the neck brace, like, right away. And then they don't pan to the demon. Is the demon in this scene? A demon is in the next scene. But yeah, they don't pan to him right away. I just thought, like, the reveals in terms of the camera work were done well.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, because this is the reveal of that lawyer is the reveal here that he's in a neck brace. And the next reveal is the demon in the next scene. But so then we cut back to Angel and Faith, and she wants to leave. I think I kept saying like, God, she looks so hot, but I know it's supposed to be she's like strung out. But I think
we love that stuff though.
We do.
Her makeup is like impeccable, and her makeup is very like early 2000s TV too.
Yeah.
Faith wears Girl Interrupted so well.
Oh, goodness.
She does.
Titillating.
We get a little bit of like, she's gonna leave. She hits him, and then she does say out loud that she like wants the help. And we're just gonna combine because then later we have an intercut here. But so then we get like where to start, and he's like, well, you got to apologize. And I forget what is it. I didn't even put it in my notes, but there's something where she thinks it's Cordelia's, and she's like, tell Cordelia I'll pay her back. And he's like, actually, it was Wesley's, and she's like, oh, let's not mention that. And he was like, actually, we should. You need to apologize to him. Zach, what did you think about that?
Everything just feels like, I don't know. I mean, I've never dealt with a homicidal best friend, but when do you start like these conversations? Because these are the ones that need to happen. I actually really, really like this. I like Angel being like, well, you have to feel it. Are you even sorry? Like asking her those real questions. Is it day one? Like, is this too soon? Is it the right time? Like, what are we? I don't know. I was a little not confused, but I was a little. I don't know. I'm trying to put myself in those.
He offered that she rest, and she said, "I've been in a coma," and he was like, "All right, let's go to group."
Fresh air or something. I don't know.
It felt very like The Rooms to me. Like like you're going to be apologizing every day for the rest of your life. So like, why not start today? Like you're going to have to be sorry about this thing for the rest of your life in order to not let the guilt overpower you. You have to keep apologizing so that you can forgive yourself and other people can forgive you. So why not start at day one, since it's not like you apologize and then it's over?
I love the minutes talk too, where she's like, we go from like 10 minutes to 5 minutes to 1 minute, and she's like really breaking, and she's like, I can't live in my fucking skin. Like, do you get that? I'm like, she's like about to implode, you know?
Yeah.
And he's really like trying to calm her. Oh my gosh, I loved it.
Yeah.
You know? It was like, she does such great work here. And I think he did really great work because of her, and he was able to bounce off of her in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, they do bounce off each other pretty well.
And also they're like kind of funny. You know, they're allowed to, they like say things like, I've got to be the first Slayer sponsored by a vampire. And like that's like funny, but it doesn't break the levity of the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think they bounce off each other well. The angel of it all doesn't. I'm not always sold on that aspect. I
think Angel needs to be more of a mature adult for someone hundreds of years old and admit when he's out of his depth, because I do think there would probably have been, and I know I'm trying to inject realism, but it's because I take these characters seriously. There probably, and what the show is saying seriously, there probably really should have been a conversation about like medicating or speaking to a psychiatrist and a psychologist at some point, because if she can't sit in her skin and be comfortable, she's not able to be in like a sustainable, like, I get it's going to be a moment to moment, minute by minute, and like, especially I understand more than anybody, when you make a big discovery or something shifts your worldview, you've got to kind of relearn how to live moment to moment. Or like, if you come out of the closet, every moment after that you're like reframing everything, and like if you're not reframing everything, then you're not really doing the thing you just did, so what was the point? And I get all of that, but I think that there should have been a conversation about like, Faith might have required assistance, and assistance might look less like a supernatural friend, and it might look more like some of the, and I think these shows have done a lot to demonize mental health care to a certain degree. Like, we see a lot of asylums and a lot of people locked up and a lot of crazy hallucinations and dangerous crazy people. And I think maybe this could have been a nice time to have a conversation other than jail. But obviously it works out for the character, so like the shows are not like, you know, we're not exploring that. But I don't know, I think what you're picking up on is that if Angel was as wise and as worldly, I mean, maybe not, he was a man in the mid 2000s, but like other than those factors, I think an adult would be able to say like, this is someone who, like, we both can't do this, you know what I mean? Like, I can't do this for you, and maybe you can't do it for yourself, but it doesn't mean it can't be done.
Do you think that the writers of the show don't do something like that because they think that just because it's a supernatural show, and if you go to, if you go to see a shrink, if you go to see a therapist, if you go to see a psychologist, and you're like, oh yeah, like, you know, I was helping people kill vampires because I'm a slayer, you know, then they wouldn't be able to get the real help that they need? Or do you think it just makes for better writing that Angel's trying to house Faith and be her sanctuary? Question mark. Legit question.
I think both. I think it's
I
both.
also think the writers just didn't think a lot about mental health. Like, that was for people who are sick, and these are characters. Right. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and I mean, I kept thinking like, so in the comics, the Watchers Council becomes like Andrew and Xander and Giles, like they're like doing stuff with the Watchers Council, right? And I think something like that, like, throw a gay on the council and it's, you know, not these like terrible corrupt characters, like maybe the Watchers Council would be able to say, we have the like means, we have a psychiatrist on staff.
Wolfram and Hart definitely does.
Yeah, they probably do. And like the Watchers Council, theoretically, like this version of the Watchers Council would never.
This is why you can't trust the government and you need to unionize. What we need is a support group of other heroes, mutual aid.
And like, you know what I mean? Like if Giles were saying, I'm going to take you here for help, we would trust Giles, right? But we don't trust these shady Watchers because we know that they're not to be trusted.
Yeah, shady's right in the name.
Right. But so we then enter that's a segue into our other like D plot, which is the Watchers that we met in the Buffy episodes who had captured Faith, or Buffy in Faith's body thinking she was Faith, are there to take Faith back.
Man, fuck these guys.
And yeah, and I do I appreciate the continuity of like making it the same actors. It's weird and I love it. And I like that like Wesley still, he is interested, right? Like I don't think he was 100% going and saying, I'm going to deceive them and trust Angel. I think he was like curious to see what they would say.
He kept his options open.
Right. Yeah.
Which he always does. I think it's very true to his character.
Nothing wrong with keeping some options open.
And he loves a double cross too. So that keeps that option open too.
Zach, what did you think of that with like the other watchers and Wesley?
It was fun. Whatever. I'm still not. I like Wesley in this episode, but I'm still not 100% won over on him. And y'all know make me feel no better because I just keep hearing that all of these things are upcoming. Do you know my husband let it slip yesterday that he keeps a woman in a closet with a bucket?
Well, who hasn't?
I'm just like. And I'm sitting here like, y'all, what kind of character arc am I going through with him? Because y'all keep saying it's one of the best character arcs in the entire series. So
Kim,
it's good.
Kim, Ryan and I have already told him. You plead the case to Zach.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, like, lots of really crazy things are about to happen that Wesley handles interestingly and well.
Kim,
All I'm saying.
Listen, I will tell you there's a reason Allison Hannigan put a ring on that man because god damn it, he gets so good in this show.
I just wish he would stop. Like, the only problem I have with him is he looks like he's like smirking all the time, like always. And never a moment he doesn't look like he's not smirking. Oh my goodness.
Now I'm looking at his action figure on my shelf right now, and I'm like, yeah, that kind of does look like he's smirking.
That is not
I don't think
that is an action figure.
But even the figure does look like it's smirking. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, wait, before we move on, I do want to say the Watchers are so good at finding English-style pubs anywhere in the world.
And he's really good at darts, like really good.
Yeah. Yes, which is important for later. We'll get there. Basically and we'll condense this all to one. Basically, those Watchers want to take Faith alive. They want him to like inject her with whatever tranquilizers. And I do really like that Wesley is like, I will only do this if you promise not to hurt Angel. Like Wesley's loyal. And I do appreciate that. Even loyal still, considering it's the same day, like, you know what I mean? Like he still that morning had that argument with Angel, but he's still going to be loyal to Angel, even though he currently is feeling betrayed by Angel, but is still going to be loyal to Angel. Which is like some shit I respect.
Totally. It's also proof that like of what Angel's saying, which is like, yes, there is evil in her, but ultimately she can be like a great force for good, and she can be ultimately she has a soul and all this stuff that he's saying. The proof is Angel on that. Even when he doesn't have to, Wesley proves that he trusts Angel and supports him. So it does like reinforce long term I think what the themes of the episode are. And again, but it doesn't shy away from Wesley's case here, which is that like she is really dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you have to use force to bring in really dangerous people, and to keep the option open doesn't make you a terrible person yet.
Yes. So we get the other Wolfram and Hart scene where our lawyers are meeting with a new client to help kill Faith. The way Stephanie Romanoff as Lila breezes in and out of the lawyer speak is so good, right? She's like,
how does she not have a job in like a CBS procedural?
Right? Like I think she is so good, and she delivers lines so well. I don't even know how to describe it, but right, Ryan, like her delivery, like her character is just 100% there in every line.
Yeah, I mean, she's like very present. She as an actor, she's really present and she's really in the moment. But she also just like fully understands everything her character's about to say. Like to a degree that like it's not like she's saying jargon. It's like she understands why her character chose the words she chose, and that is such a lawyery thing.
Yeah,
and it really makes her feel like a lawyer. Lindsay also feels like a lawyer, but a different kind of lawyer. One of those like lawyers that's like, I would like to address the jury.
And like, even the way when she's like, I forget what she says, something like, oh, we're not putting our hands in this. Not that you have to have hands. That was speciest of me. Like, the way that's all one thought, like that's very lawyery. And I like that. And I also like that it's just like this gross purple demon that like shoves its face in the food.
I also like that she doesn't look away from the demon, but Lindsay does. It says a lot about the two of them.
So then Faith is watching TV. She's doing something. And she sees a news report where we see Kate on TV saying they're looking for this woman and it's Faith. And then, Zach, what happens?
She knocks a glass over. I don't know what she was doing there. She's dramatic, trying to get a little bit of attention. The assassin comes in and attacks both Angel and Faith, right?
Yes.
That's what happens here, yeah. And so she kills. There's a lot of fighting, and she kills, or she stabs the assassin and gets like blood on the knife, and it triggers her, right?
Right.
Oh my God, this scene where Angel jumps and we see his belly and he does a little kick. Oh my God. I think as a teenager, I thought about that scene and fantasized it into a long sequence where things happened that don't happen in the show. But oh my God, he's so hot there. Can we just pause and appreciate? Oh my God, the smoke show that is David Boreanaz.
Season 1 Angel was like
unreal.
Yeah, he was such a babe. And I gotta say, this scene, I almost feel like we didn't need this scene.
We didn't need this assassin pressure. Like, this isn't necessary, but it's fine. It's fun. I don't think we needed it.
Kim, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, especially because we were just introduced to that demon, like 1 or 2 small scenes ago. And like now the demon is dead. I guess like maybe the PTSD is important in some way, but Faith's already going through so much. Like, I don't know. They don't really address it because then we've got like the big B comes in the room.
Gosh, it's just like, I think I this should have been a little bit of a longer, sort of shorter arc, right? I think 2 episodes was too quick because this episode really does, like going back to the minutes talk that they have, it feels like 2 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's no time for it. And just kind of like what you were saying earlier, Ryan, about like, you know, talk about mental health or like maybe getting her medicated or some sort of help that he can't provide. There's not even enough time to have conversations like that. And I think maybe stretching it out over a couple more episodes would have been really beneficial to the character, to the whole story, because everything is so bam, bam, bam. Really, like Buffy comes down the stairs and like, even when she and Buffy are having that conversation up on the roof, it like is cut off because some dudes in a helicopter show up, right?
Yeah.
It's so frustrating because I could have watched the rest of the episode just them having a talk, you know?
Yes.
But yeah, Buffy comes. Buffy's here.
So we get that's the only scene that I would say like I didn't need because we already know Faith's traumatized.
Mm.
And it feels like killing this weird spider purple demon wouldn't be like, oh no. Like it feels like maybe if we're a vampire that looks like a human or something that looked like a human. So that's a little, and like also like this thing they were going to kill it anyway. Like that's a thing they would kill. So yeah, that's where I'm a little but yes, enter fucking Buffy, and god damn it, Sarah Michelle Gellar comes in and shows everyone how to act in like 1 second.
She's a star, baby.
How does her hair look like
fucking
that?
Is right? Like she looks great. The face acting she does in this fucking basement apartment is fucking fantastic. And like, not that any of us are ever like, oh, Sarah Michelle Gellar wasn't good in this scene. That like never crosses our minds. But like, it just feels like the way we talked about Darla, how Julie Benz very much has a presence. I feel like I don't appreciate Sarah Michelle Gellar's presence as much on Buffy because it's always there, right?
She brings life to every frame,
right?
That it's unreal.
Yeah.
And I get that we sound superlative and that this is a fan-based podcast, but I genuinely challenge anyone at home to look away from Sarah Michelle Gellar on screen. Like you can't do it. And there are scenes of Angel where I check my phone, not the scenes that Buffy were on screen.
So she comes in as Angel and Faith are hugging. And I watched this scene a lot to try to figure out what I wanted to do as the cover image for this episode. Because for me, this is like the scene of the episode. Kim, I want your take on this first, because tell me what you think. Give me like a overall reaction. I'm curious what you think of like Faith and Buffy and Angel here.
I mean, if you think, from my perspective, having watched this episode isolated from a lot of the other episodes that come before it and the Buffy episodes, like it's been a while since I've watched those, right?
Right.
So detached from all of that, she comes off like so not willing to understand or listen to what's going on, and just like very hurt that she's caught her ex like hugging somebody who she's currently mad at. And I know because I've watched those episodes though a long time ago, I know the reasons for her anger against Faith are very justified and real, but just like she doesn't really let anybody else talk and explain anything. She's just like, here are my emotions. And like, that's not necessarily Buffy to me. Like, I feel like usually like Buffy's like a little bit more level-headed than that, right? Like, isn't she supposed to be a Capricorn? No, she's an Aquarius. But still, like, Ian, you're fairly level-headed.
She is a Capricorn.
Oh, she is a Capricorn.
Because her birthday's 2 days before mine, and mine's the first day of Aquarius.
Like that's like you bury your emotions, and like her character very much like can do her job as a Slayer and be an emotional woman, but at the same time like knows how to control them, and she just doesn't do that here. So I was just very surprised that she just wouldn't let anybody else talk, and then wouldn't even let Faith apologize to her. You know?
Oh God, her delivery on "if you apologize to me, I will beat you to death." I was like, "Fuck, I love Buffy so much."
I mean, the acting is great. Like, I mean, she nails it. Like, certainly. Right? But like, I don't want her to be so aggressive. You know?
Yeah. No. I. The thing is, I don't think you're wrong, but for me, I'm like, that's why she's acting like that's why this is a big deal, because she doesn't act like this normally, and she has every right to be acting like it right now, because like depending on how long, like, but it has been days at the longest. It's been a handful of days since Faith beat up her mother, inhabited her body, fucked her boyfriend, tried to kill all her friends, and then like beat her up and switched back with her and left town. So like, for me, I'm like, whether this was a day, like it couldn't have been any more than a week, right? Buffy would still be coming in hot, and this is Angel. Like, I'm not a big, I don't give a shit about the ships, but to Buffy, this is a big deal. This was her first big love, and now he's with the person that like tried to fucking ruin her life for a whole year, and just a week ago did all that terrible shit. And so I think that's why I like it. And that's why I feel like it does make sense, because this would be something Buffy would be furious about. And she has every right to be furious about it. And God, her delivery, the way she quietly, calmly, but clearly full of fury says, "I will beat you to death." It's just like, shit.
And we have to remember her age too, right? Like, she is a teenage girl, and maybe not all teenage girls act like this, but she is not exempt from having just moments where she's irrationally mad and isn't going to listen to everybody. You know, Buffy can be that too. You know, because I think we do sometimes forget her age. I know I do all the time.
Yeah.
And then I have to like really pull myself back in and be like, no, she's not really being a bitch. She's just like, she is being a bitch, but she's a teenage girl being a bitch. It's very, very common. You know, teenage boys can be bitches too. Angel acts like a teenage boy. He's a bitch all the time. She just is furious, you know? I think this is I think her anger also is really good at just highlighting and underlining how many people Faith has put on her bad side, right? Yeah. And how many people Faith has hurt, because we got it from Wesley. We're getting it from Buffy. Like, we are getting all of these people telling Angel, no, like, she did this.
Yeah.
We're pissed. We're all coming for her with pitchforks and, you know, and I guess in that way, because this is supposed to be the point of the show, that Angel's supposed to be the one to help people, like,
right,
makes him a little heroic, but I don't know, I think that's stupid. But
okay, so it's that, but then also like because he understands where she's coming from, like having been Angelus, and also having been Angelus like fairly recently.
The Angelus thing I only buy that because the Angelus thing. I don't know. We get flashbacks, but when does he ever tell people stories of his life? Like, why didn't we get a scene with so many talking scenes between him and Faith where he like tells her a story about something, you know, that he really regrets, or that somebody that he's really hurt.
That would have been a great third episode, like you said, to like that if there had been something in the middle where it's like Angel and Faith and it's mostly flashbacks, like they could have so easily shot that and it would have really fleshed out their relationship.
Or even, I know I said that I prized the scenes for their brevity, that we didn't need too much of, but even when she's like, when he opens the door and he's like, "There's your freedom, you can go if you want to go." he kind of monologues a little bit long there, and he's talking about like freedom and like darkness, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe they're just like dropping a few details of things we've already seen flashbacks for or something like that.
Yeah, like stories, you have hundreds of years of stories of your life that could make for very good lessons, and I feel like they don't do. He doesn't give those lessons very much in the show. We just get like flashbacks that we're supposed to relate to the rest of the episode. But I want to hear him telling that to people and relating it in some sort of lesson and how he's learned from that, right? Because he's telling Faith, you got to like accept responsibility, learn from your mistakes. But how did you learn from your mistakes? Because you're not telling us.
Yeah, I think that is a good point. But Ryan, I give me your take on this scene as well, because I know you're more in Kim's camp.
I think I just don't. I think this is all valid, and like Faith super violated Buffy, and Buffy is young, and she's 100% right. And Buffy also sees a lot of herself in Faith, which makes you react differently than you do to someone like the mayor,
right?
Because like you're like, but I understand you. How could you fucking do this? But I think Buffy, as this episode goes on, I think Buffy, the temperature could have come down and given her other layers at which to try to communicate. Like when she is in a combative dynamic with somebody, there's usually some humor to it.
Mm-hmm.
And with Faith, she gets zero of that. She doesn't even give her time to talk or other people to talk, people whose home she's in. Like, I think that especially her ex, like it just doesn't feel like Buffy, the rage is right. It just like through the episode or through maybe what we see of the time they spend, it just feels like there could have been other layers. Although I would also like to say that while you were speaking about it, I was thinking this is also Buffy before Dawn. Yeah. And like she doesn't have a little sister dynamic with Faith because she doesn't know how to do it. Like she tried to treat Faith as basically her girlfriend and then like her arch nemesis. Like she doesn't know how to have a sibling. And very similar to my husband who does not have siblings, it means he treats people differently. Like he treats employees differently than I do because I understand like, yeah, maybe I'm in charge of this person, but also like someone's in charge of both of us. Like we're kind of on the same team here.
Right.
You know what I mean? He has a different view of things, and it doesn't make it better or worse. It's just like this is a different Buffy. And I have to remember that the way that we see her relate to Faith later is because she's learned so much from the relationship with Dawn and all the people Dawn's killed. Just kidding.
There's just not enough time. That's the big problem here. And I think that's something we could probably all agree on, right? Because like Buffy deserves her heated moment, just like Wesley deserves his heated moment. We just don't have time for the come down and for her to start,
thawing out.
Through, we just don't, and that is the shame of it all,
Yeah.
And
again, still a great episode. We're asking for more here.
More time, please. 2-hour episode.
And when they have that argument, the things I need to point out are when she says to Angel, "Do you even know what she put me through?" And he's like, "I do." And her face changes from hard to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, I feel that. Like, I just feel like I put myself in Buffy's shoes a lot. Like when I feel betrayed, but I want you to care about this betrayal. And he's not addressing it. He doesn't give a shit about it.
Also, Buffy doesn't get to tell her own fucking story. Like,
right.
It is really shitty when you're like, "Did you hear?" And someone's like, "Yeah." And you're like, "Oh, because I was going to fucking tell you, but I guess everyone else is talking about it."
And like, the way that Sarah Michelle Gellar like delivers that line hard and then her face changes, like it makes me tear up because I'm like hurt for her.
It's just all the way around, right? Like the dialogue here could so easily like amend people a little bit, right? Like he could say to her, "It is not safe having her out on the loose, just spiraling. We are literally on day one. We just got her in here. Give us a second, okay? Can you sit and give us a moment?" He doesn't say anything like that. He's to her, he's very dismissive of her and all of her facial expressions and everything, right?
And like he should be able to read that. He knows her.
He acts like he's 17 fucking years old. It pisses me off so much.
And then so another thing that really pisses me off is when he fucking hits her. It makes me like.
Yeah.
Sarah Michelle Gellar's face when she covers her mouth, like I could cry thinking about it. Like it makes me so upset. Yes.
I don't understand why that's written into this episode. Like
because the Slayer and her boyfriends just get to hit each other. That's just, I guess.
I mean, Faith hits him and he doesn't hit her back, right? And then Buffy hits him, and he hits her back, and it's just like
there's some dumb math going on of like violence to stop violence or something, right?
Right. And like, but seeing her feelings be hurt so much within the course of like a 2-minute scene, like Buffy is my fucking hero. Like, don't talk to her like that. Don't address her like that. Don't look at her like that. Like, I was like, burn that whole place to the ground.
This kid's show is canceled. I want to know why the hell he and the writers act like he was the one who was wronged for the past 3 seasons.
Yes.
I want to know like why they acted like she was chasing him out of town with a damn, some fire or a cross or something, right? He chose to leave. He did all of that to her. He hurt her. And then he goes off and and then he messes with their happiness again, right? Like she doesn't, I mean, I guess she doesn't remember that, but still, like, let's not act like Angel was the victim in this entire relationship. He had the more mature standing in the entire relationship. He had all of the experience. He had the age on her, bringing that up. It just he doesn't ever give her any understanding, and that really hurts me.
Yes, Zach, that's what it is, because I don't think Kim and Ryan, I don't think you're both like particularly wrong. It's more that like what you just said, Zach. It's like, give her some room, like give her some understanding, give her some care. This is the woman you were in love with and dating, and you were this like great blah 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 love story. So like you should be able to give this person a little bit more care.
She was writing on her notebook.
She was like, fuck. And I think that's what like I get really protective of Buffy and Sarah Michelle Gellar, right? Because of course I do. And it's just like I am, and I feel like you're the same way, Zach, with her. Like, right?
Well, I think everybody is. I think we all are. And I think this is why it's such a great conversation, is because this is, I think what it comes down to, again, is just time, and we don't have enough time. But because we have what we have, everybody kind of sees it differently. And I find these conversations like so fascinating, how everybody's coming at it with their own perspectives.
Yeah, I do really like that, honestly. Like, and because again, like, I don't think any of us are wrong. And it's kind of like the episode, right? How like, we all are like, yeah, Wesley has every right to be that upset, and he does. We don't agree with what he's saying, but we're all like, yeah, it's understandable. The person that was like tortured and cut up would be saying that.
Yeah, I think that's part of what makes this episode great, is that everyone, even Faith, like has a different opinion about Faith.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
like barely do two people have the same, and if they have a similar opinion, they have a different way of dealing with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I truly I don't feel like there are very many other episodes where you're coming into an episode with so many different characters with such different perspectives, and they're all coming in with their own story into this like middle point, which is Faith, right? Like they're all diagonaling into this square to meet her, and they're all just from different. I don't know, man. It's good. It's good stuff,
right? And I do think like a lot of people, I know not you, Zach, 'cause I know you love season 7, but a lot of people will like rag on Buffy season 7 and like say that Faith is kind of just there. But for me, she gets her arc. Her arc is complete in Angel. And like, that's another reason why I think like for me, I'm like, you had to watch Angel too, because like Cordelia's arc and Faith and Wesley and like those parts, like Faith's arc is complete by the time she is back in Sunnydale, I think, in season 7. So I'm okay with her like being there and just being part of the crowd. And in Dirty Girls, her and Faith do have, when they're walking to the vineyard, they have a talk, and that's kind of like their healing moment for me. And Faith's already come to terms with everything else. So I'm okay with it being most like her development being.
I mean, and they don't even give that respect to a lot of characters, right? Like Cordelia is not even going to get that respect. Can we talk about just for a second the friendship that I feel post season 7 Buffy and Faith would have had? I feel like they would have been closer than Buffy and any of the other Scoobies. I truly feel like that. I feel like today they would be having coffee together real early in the morning after staking some vampires in the cemetery, and like reminiscing on like, I don't know, do you remember 10 years ago when we were in Paris fucking guys, and then maybe fucking each other a couple times, and, like they would have had probably the strongest bond because they had more to relate to each other with, and I think they would have recognized that at a certain point, and it's just a shame that we never got that far to see it. You know,
I always love when you bring that up, Zach, because you have sold me on that idea 1,000%.
I want to see them older, sitting in Paris, slaying Parisian vampires. That's the show I want to see.
So they send Faith upstairs, and we see that Wesley has entered. At this point, we don't know where he stands, blah, blah, blah. We cut back to Wolfram and Hart, and I do like the lawyer Lee when he's like using assassinate like 85 times to be like, no one actually died till we hired the assassin to kill the assassin that we hired to assassinate.
Yeah.
They don't know. We know. They know. We know.
Yeah. The wordplay there is very good. I like that Lindsay's like, what is he says something like, oh, we tried to do it outside of the law. Well, we're lawyers. Let's do it inside. And Lila's like, he's being ironic. And he's like, no, I'm not. Which we know that then he goes to see Kate later. But we cut back to Angel, and Buffy is fucking pissed. And I wish we got a longer version of this. Yeah. Because Buffy's getting out her anger, and she says oh, did she pout her lips? Was her bosom heaving? Oh, blah, 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 blah. And then she's like, you hit me and you did it for her. And for me, that is the thing that hurts my feelings the most about that is that he hit her for Faith. And I just Faith.
He shouldn't have hit her at all. Let's just be clear. Right. It was not a comfortable thing to watch at all.
But you know what I mean? Like you said, Ryan, it's the Slayer and her boyfriend, they always make them hit each other. Right.
Yeah.
They do that a lot. But this is where it hurts. And it's I would just be she fucking beat up my mother 3 days ago. What,
yeah.
And this is what you're willing to do for her?
Also, I would have been do you think, what level of trust? I think what I wanted Buffy to say is what she didn't say, which is do you really think if I got my hands on her, I'm going to kill her?
Right.
Get out of my fucking way and let me handle this. You've so little respect and trust for me. You think I can't handle this? And it's my thing to handle. That's what she should have said, but she didn't. And that's why I guess it doesn't feel like her anger comes to any head for me. It just feels like it builds and builds and builds until it's not there anymore.
Yeah. She says, I thought you needed help. She says that 2 or 3 times. And that just feels selfish and petty, you know?
Yeah. It's very manipulative.
Yeah, and I just don't like that line for her because you're right, Ryan. That's not what she really means.
Yeah.
I mean, she does really mean it, obviously, but that's not. She doesn't need to say it 3 times.
And it's not the most effective way to get what you want.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Angel. For me, even though I agree with what you're saying, Angel's the worst in this scene because he's not hearing this woman. And like you said, Ryan, he should fucking trust her. Buffy's not a murderer. When have we seen her murder anyone? And he's acting like she's going to do that. She might beat her up a little bit, but
yeah, right? She just wants to rough her up again.
He's just being this territorial dickhead who's this is my city. We're not going to work together. I'm handling this case and we won't speak about it.
I guess what I just put together, what's bothering me is he punched her in the face and she's not allowed to punch Faith in the face.
Right. Yeah.
I'm clear on the rules here. What was the math thing? Because we're both Slayers. So maybe you need to stay out of Slayer business.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
You're pretty low on the totem pole and jealous.
I guess you're all talking me into it. I'm just saying, I don't know. I for some reason, I just don't like Buffy. I don't think she's expressing herself well here.
I agree. Yeah. I don't know, and I like Angel in this scene. I
do like Angel.
I feel like the opposite. I 100% I'm on Angel's side in this scene. I'm yeah, minus the punch, obviously.
But I kind of see Angel there's also something to be said for Angel being exhausted about having these conversations and just being can you get out of my way? It's my parents will be annoying about my politics, and sometimes I'm I'm going to go do volunteer work on an issue. You're calling me to have some culture war argument. Shut the fuck, get out of my way. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's I guess I feel like this is really personal to Buffy, so he should have made the time. But I also do understand the character's weariness with people having to get to the maturity point to be I have forgiveness. Do you know what I mean? He's I don't have time for this. And I guess I tonally, his character makes more sense to me here than Buffy's does. I don't know. Maybe that's off base.
They also like literally have no time for this in like the scene that happens that we're talking about, because they don't have any time to talk about it,
right?
Or to like get to any point where like either of them allow each other to talk like with not just emotions in this scene, because suddenly Wesley's coming downstairs with Faith in a syringe.
Right. Yeah. I do like his like, hello, Buffy, good to see you. You came at a bad time. And she's like, yeah, I get that. I like a little brief, like, well, we're caught up. And this is like their last scene together ever.
It's never a good time. I don't see why the two of them
That's true.
book a weekend for the Poconos.
That really is true. There's never a good time on either of these shows. Like, they're never like have a full episode where they're just sitting around having a good time, eating some food.
I would say Cordelia is at the spa right now.
Yeah. Buffy wants to go hang out with her right now. She can. But yeah, a thing I like is that the thing that we do see is Buffy, again, going back to your point, Ryan, of like, why does Angel think, like, what does he think she would do? Because she does pick it up, right? Even when they're fighting on the roof, when she sees that man with the gun, she is like pushes Faith and is like, run.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah. I mean, everyone in this team can agree. If you're holding a gun, we're not on your team.
Yeah. So, like, you know what I mean? It's like at the end of the day, you're arguing and fighting over this, but like you're both gonna be on the same side. Like,
yeah.
If everyone just smoke a weed, pause a moment.
What we needed to do was, I'm 100% serious. Like, we needed to get Faith the appropriate medication and everybody else medicated. That's usually priority one after an intervention.
And
Ryan and I are allowed to say that we're on meds, so like
SSRI
yes,
for you,
100%.
and an SSRI for you. Everyone gets an SSRI.
Yes, we all need to get medicated and chill the fuck out.
It's me and Ryan enter in with some prescription bottles, like, here, honey, take this. Here, that's for you. This one's for you.
I have a great talk therapy guy.
An extra Xanny for you, Faith. Like,
he's gay. He'll get it.
So then we get Kate and Lindsay, which, like, again, I forget which one of you said it, but like, why is she believing him? Like,
cops are the worst.
But also, she doesn't do anything. Like, I thought the helicopter that's about to come in the next scene was the cops, and it wasn't.
That's true. It's not. Like, it doesn't even.
Nope.
We could have gotten to her getting there just because there was a helicopter on the roof, right? Like, there's a helicopter shooting a gun out at a roof. Like, okay, maybe she would arrive.
Like, they paid for that helicopter, and it was the Watcher's helicopter.
They're like, oh, it's 7:15 in LA.
Yeah. So then, like, blah. I don't really have anything to say about this. She's just kind of like, "Ooh, I hate you," and then but believes him.
Whatever. She's beautiful. She's so beautiful.
Yeah. And then we have this Buffy Faith roof scene, which again I do wish could have been longer.
Mm-hmm.
They spend a lot of time on roofs together.
They do. And I like the parallel almost of like their last encounter in season 3 IRL was on a fucking roof. Their last encounter here was like, I mean, well, she sees her at the police station, but I just like their pivotal moments happening on a roof. And I do like this conversation because once again, I do feel like both of them are right. Like 100%. Buffy says, I gave you every chance, but maybe she didn't. But like also Buffy was 17 when
Buffy was not responsible for making sure Faith was housed, making sure like, okay, that one falls on all of the adults, especially the council. The council should have set her up in a fucking Ritz-Carlton. Let's be real. Buffy had no responsibility other than to welcome Faith, and she did that. She did it. Buffy fulfilled her obligation to her fellow Slayer. And then it went south. And I mean, you know, to take it down to just friends falling out. I mean, that's a little extreme, but, you know, just friends falling out. This is just what happens, right? And you talk to each other and you're not going to see eye to eye immediately, but you talk a little bit more and a little bit more. And then you're going to come to an understanding because we get cut off way too soon. I love you talk about parallels. I love the parallel where Buffy yells "shut up" and it's not Faith yelling "shut up," right? It's Buffy yelling "shut up," and it's just they are more alike than they are different, and they have to sit down and fucking talk about it. And Buffy needs to go visit Faith in jail, and they need to talk it out, and we need a whole episode of that.
I actually felt like that "shut up" was so important because it sold it sold more to me, the Buffy being in just blind rage, no breathing through the whole episode, because it does show that the level of rage she's at is unsustainable for anyone with like empathy, because she at some point she's like, stop trying to make me feel for you, it's working.
Yes.
You know, like,
and at the end with the line, tell me how to make it better, that did something. It did something, and we didn't get the time to flesh it out.
Yeah,
and I was livid.
And I mean, like, because, and I do love Faith. I feel like I'm coming off very anti-Faith. I do love Faith. It's just I'm always going to be on Buffy's side more than I'm on anyone else's side.
And Faith is a naughty girl. We all know that.
I like it's naughty as if like, just killed some people.
She's
but
misbehaving.
Like, you know, when Faith is like, when Buffy says, no one else has ever made me a victim, and Faith is like, you can't stand that, you're all about control. And it's like, but no shit, no one wants to be a victim. What? Yeah. That's not a specific to Buffy thing. Like, who's like, oh yes, great, I will be a victim today.
Yeah, but sometimes, and the Buffy Faith thing always read to me, I don't know, as the more, I don't know, it's the proto relationship for Dawn, and it's very sisterly, and if anything, it feels at times a little more authentic to the ugliness of sibling relationships, because sometimes you just say stuff to be a bitch. You don't even really mean it, you just want to hurt the other person's feelings, and I think that there is a lot of that going on in this episode. I think Buffy's saying things the way she's saying them because she knows she's being overheard.
Yeah.
And it makes her so much more relatable, I think, right?
Yeah.
Because we all do that, you know? Sometimes you just want to get that dig in at the end with Angel.
Yesterday, I was like hungry, and I did it because I was hungry.
Right. God, Zach, are we Buffy and Faith? That's what I'm getting out of this.
Which one is which, okay? That's the bigger conversation here.
The answer will fool you.
Because in 10 years, we're going to be slaying vampires in the Paris catacombs, okay?
Look at that. Yeah. Talking about the vampires we fucked. So before they can finish, and again, like this is just another, I do think they bounce off each other very well, especially with this dynamic. And you are right, Ryan, it is very sisterly. You know, Buffy yells, shut up. And then we like see the guy with the gun come in, and Buffy saves Faith. And that's a big, I think that's like what makes me even more on her side, is that like, Angel, what were you even fighting with her for?
Like
you know
Ryan said it. It's like, what do you think she's there to do? She's not there to slit Faith's throat, right? She's probably likely going to put her in a headlock, knock her out, and like drop her on the steps of the police station or something, right?
Yeah.
I don't even think Buffy knows what she's going to do, but it's not kill her. It's not going to end with killing her.
She's going to show up and she's expecting fight from Faith. If Faith doesn't give any fight, she's going to be well, you're a bitch, you know?
Yeah. Like
hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. We know where this goes.
Kim, what do you think about their relationship here and this conversation?
I mean, I thought like it had to happen. I think I agree. I think it's Zach that said it. Like we don't get enough here.
Yeah.
You know, like we get just enough so that when the fighting starts, it's not a complete surprise that Buffy saves Faith. Mm-hmm. You know, like I'm not necessarily worried that Faith is going to be killed because of Buffy's like negligence here.
Yeah.
So I think we get like just enough of that conversation for the rest of the scene to unfold and for the end of the episode to make sense.
Yeah. So then we see that the Watchers are attacking Wesley and Angel in the basement too. I like that Wes gets he gets to do stuff, right? The dart thing is important because he throws the dart at the one Watcher and punches him and says, that's for calling me a ponce.
Isn't it the syringe?
Right. I mean, like he throws it. Yeah. Like
a dart. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Like a dart. And we get like one of the more ridiculous Buffyverse action scenes of Angel jumping through the skylight.
So ridiculous.
It feels so out of place, right?
He just can't stand not being the center of attention for one moment.
Okay, and then he rides on the helicopter, which is also ridiculous. Like he rides it down like he's not even like he didn't even climb inside.
He's practicing for SEAL Team 6, okay? He's getting ready.
And also Just the idea that the helicopter pilot was like, "Oh no, Angel."
All right, we'll go down. No big deal.
It was a cool shot though. So the budget went to two things here. It went to the shot of Sarah Michelle Gellar getting blown with the wind under the light, and then Angel flying over the city.
Yeah, like that feels like Buffy never had that budget to do like shit like that, right?
No.
Like,
You would never catch Buffy on a freaking helicopter that was off of the ground.
That snake would have looked a lot better.
And like it is weird seeing Buffy in this like action movie scenario that like there's no like
Die Hard, right?
Yeah, right? Like
I saw that too. I was like, oh my god, 80s action movie, like Eliza Dushku. It's like I was like, this is so fun.
Right? And it is fun. And like it's just like when they're like shooting and Buffy's running, I'm like, this is something that would never happen on Buffy. Like
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of cops for a Buffy story.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
There would have been
Even
two.
though obviously, I think we're about to get there, but I think the dynamic rings true. But
yes, so Angel they quell the violence. Buffy beat up the gunman on the roof. Angel got them to land the helicopter, but Faith is missing. And enter Kate, as she always does, right at the worst moment. And she asks Angel where Faith is. He just doesn't say anything, so they arrest him for aiding and abetting a known felon.
I have the word arrested underlined in my notes. I think it's the only thing I underlined this whole episode. It's the only thing.
And then we see Wesley and Buffy arriving at the police station. I love everything Buffy. Like, I love Buffy. The cops are just an annoyance, right? Like, Are you kidding me? You think you can tell Buffy Summers what to do? Like, fuck off.
she's like, enough with your little gang.
Yeah. Like, that's cute. You have your guns, but like, I will beat the shit out of all of you. And I liked it to her, like when they like try to grab her and she doesn't even look at them. She's just like looking at Angel. Like the one cop goes to grab her and she just slaps his hand away. And she's like, that's not happening to Kate. And Kate's like, who are you? And it's like, Buffy doesn't care about you, lady. Like,
she's like, I'm a taxpayer.
And I just like, for me, that also is very Buffy, right? The like, they're just an annoyance. Like, it's almost the way Glory feels about Buffy is the way Buffy feels about these cops. And I really like that. I like really do. That also rings true to Buffy, right? Because they're just like dumb humans that don't have special powers. So like, go away.
I liked her from this scene forward. Like I appreciated the way that she was acting after this fight and like the way, I mean, he's just like, okay, like the sun does rise over the cell or whatever, according to Kate. And she's just like, absolutely not. Yeah. You know, like she just.
And there's no way Buffy would let it happen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like we know that Buffy would literally beat up every cop in that station to make sure Angel didn't get in that cell with the sunlight.
Kate just sucks.
I have a fan fiction to write.
And then before they can like actually have their big fight, Angel's like, Buffy, look, and we see that Faith is like confessing. And I do think that's a very good character beat for Faith. I like that it's like she disappeared, but she disappeared to go turn herself in.
She wasn't about to waste time telling people she's going to go turn herself in. She just up and does it, right? She's tired. She needs a bed to sleep in. You know, at least the jail cell is going to have a window.
Yeah, like I like that. She doesn't need to tell them. She's like, we had enough monologuing. I'm just going to go do the thing. Like, and then we cut to the conversation Buffy and Angel have, which again, I wanted her to kick the shit out of Angel. He was
this is my city.
Right? Like, this is LA, sir. You do not own LA.
My dad lives in LA. Do you know how long? I came from LA. You want to talk about LA for a second? Where are you from, Mr. Boreanaz?
Where are you from with that fake Irish accent?
He admits that he was like talking out of turn, like talking like with emotion, like at the end.
Yeah.
You know, when he's like, oh, I've got a big mouth.
I just do hate seeing him talk to Buffy like this. Like, and
I guess I do think there's something to be said about like he was like establishing his own boundaries. I think a lot of this, like when she was in his apartment, like trying to confront Faith, it's like at some point they are exes, and you do have to be like, hey, you don't get to just like jump in. Like I get that stuff's going on with you, and this involves you, but like I also have stuff going on, and I do think it. I think it's fair to set boundaries, but I don't like the way that he talks to her. Like this, he doesn't have to be like, Los Angeles, Hollywood, I own it, baby. To be like a Rat Pack about it. But I do think it's a fair point.
But then he shows up in fucking Sunnydale still.
Yeah.
You know? They just that's what they do.
Yeah, he does show up in Sunnydale.
They bop on over to each other. It's just
the way she delivers before she leaves, like it hurts my heart that she's like, see, Faith wins again, and like just leaves. Like,
oh, but that is a little bratty to be like.
It is. You're right, but like, I think she has every right to be bratty after the way he talked to her.
Right to be bratty, but do you want to be? Is that who you want to be, Buffy?
Sometimes.
Is that why I wear my "What would Buffy do" bracelet?
Yes. Sometimes you just want to know that hey. It makes no sense, right? It's so irrational, but you want your ex-boyfriend to say, you know what, I take your side just for this moment, right? Faith is in custody. All he had to say was, she will be taken care of. Okay, right. I understand where you're coming from. Now let's talk about setting these boundaries, right? But they just make this dialogue so intense between them where they're just, jab for jab for jab for jab. And then Angel is like, oh, you hurt me. Remember, you have a boyfriend. And, he didn't fucking leave town.
What we've learned from this episode is, 1, don't react emotionally. Think before you open your mouths, right? Like, take the time to process. And I already forget too. Damn it, I didn't learn.
It's all right, Kim. I felt like you were wagging your finger at me. I'm like, oh,
yeah. Damn it, I had it. I had it when Zach was just talking then. I was like, we learned so much, but we didn't learn.
I'm sorry, I rambled a little too long. I lost your thought.
Listen, Zach and I are very emotional when it comes to our favorite Slayer.
This episode is Yin and I. It is, and we haven't had a fight like this in a good 5 months, but I'm seeing a lot of things we can learn from it.
That's what I'm saying.
I know when you say 5 months, it's like, oh, that doesn't really sound that long, does it?
That's a long time.
Hey, for Buffy and Faith, that's a long time.
So Kim's giving us our lessons that we gotta learn, Zach.
Ryan too.
But so for me, and I know that we do, again, the thing I said about Faith, her arc is more complete on Angel. The Angel Buffy arc is more complete on Buffy, which I do think if we had to pick one show for it to be more complete on, Buffy is the show it deserves to be more complete on.
Yeah. I also think Angel never made any promises to the audience about Buffy, whereas Buffy made some promises about Angel.
Yes. So for me, I'm like, this feels incomplete, but I know that on Buffy, the season finale, he does go there and he does say he's sorry, which I have to remind myself of because otherwise I would be furious at Angel forever. But I'm like, I hate that it ends this way, but that's what makes this episode so good, right? Is because, like you all said, oh, she is being bratty, and she is, but she feels like shit. He just talked down to her so badly. And this, especially then, is the love of her life, right?
And he completely ignored that she was just going to bat for him in the police station. You know?
Yes. Dude, she was ready to beat the shit out of every cop in that station just for you, sir. And you were like, get out of my city. I own LA. No. And so that's what
sad that he can't find love.
I know.
He's not allowed to find love.
Ugh.
Listen, guys, no spoilers, but Carrie and Big have very happy. Oh wait, he died.
I remember my other lesson.
Oh, what's the other lesson?
Try not to keep receipts. You got to keep some, but don't hang on to them in a way that is made for vengeance. Work it out before it gets to that. I feel like that we learned that from this episode too.
God, Kim's really talking to us, ain't she, Zach?
Well, I don't feel like you and I do a bunch of receipt keeping. We just usually go back to text messages because I think we both keep all of those. But other than that,
I was just thinking that's why mine delete every 30 days. I can't hold on to shit.
I don't do that because I know I send pictures to people I like to go back to.
Yeah.
That's
if
why my iCloud is full and they want me to pay lots of money to them.
Zach and I both do the thing where every month it's like, okay, I need to add $2 more to this. Okay.
Yeah, it keeps happening. Oh my goodness, I hate Angel. He is a lot better in Buffy. I agree with that. We have the softer side of Angel with Buffy. Even when her mom dies and he just shows up just for like the one moment. That is so great. It's such good stuff. But then why does he gotta be such an asshole here?
Give him time to grow.
How long has he had time to grow?
Well, on the series, it's only been 19 episodes. Give him time to show you flaws so that he can show you how he grows and changes.
Yes, because he does. Again, Zach, I know everyone's constantly in season 2. He starts to Brian. Like he definitely
we get cooking.
Yeah, and like especially, I feel like especially with his relationship with Cordelia, that's what helps him grow the most. Right.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Queen. But so as Kim mentioned,
I'm having a prophecy, a vision. Sorry.
Wes walks in, and I wrote down Angel's line. He says, like, for a taciturn, shadowy guy, I got a big mouth.
Yeah.
That was cute.
And I do think that's like a really good line. And I'm glad that we at least get him acknowledging, shit, I was kind of a dick. Like, I'm glad that like out loud he says it to, one of his close friends. At least we get him verbalizing it, which is important. And I like when Wes is like, you did do the right thing. And he's like yelling at Buffy. And he's like, no, the other thing. I'm glad we get that little bit of wrap up. But I did keep thinking, man, I wonder what they would have had Cordelia if they had her come back in at the end like they did Wesley. Like what she would have been saying, right? Like I know she wouldn't have got between Buffy and Angel because she's very hands off. When it comes to that, she's like, let them do their shit, whatever.
She would have been getting Faith a green dot card, setting up her commissary
You're
thing.
right.
She would have been the most supportive. She'd have figured out, she'd be like, I'm not writing her letters, but I'll find someone who will.
Right. Yeah. She would be like, I'm not doing it, but.
She's like, we're going to get this as much out of our hair. You are visiting on Tuesdays, second Tuesdays of the month, and that is it. Yeah. I penciled it in. Like,
and we end on Faith being locked up.
And then I like how they do like just as Angel saying, oh, but she has a chance. And then it kind of cuts right to the credits. I thought that was a really smart ending.
Mm-hmm.
I think it solidifies too the whole different people having different ways of viewing her. And also like at this point, like there's a lot of different outcomes possible from this moment forward for her.
Right.
So question, she's only getting booked for the guy that she beat up and took his apartment, correct?
No.
Like
is it for all of it?
Yeah.
Oh.
That would be like
that's some life sentences.
Yeah.
The police put together all of the crimes that she did with clues, evidence, and warrants, and it's all ducks are in alignment. They don't know about witches. Never heard of witches, which are happening all the time.
Lindsay's in court. 1 count of body swapping.
That would be a fun. Wait, that's She-Hulk. Sorry. Almost pitched She-Hulk.
What? We're at the end. So, Kim, what's your favorite scene?
Oh God, I was like, don't ask me first.
Do we want to go to Ryan first?
No, I'm just gonna go with the opening scene where Cordy's like, write me those checks, but like Angel's just kind of signing them, and then she bolts. Like that's my favorite scene.
Ryan.
The demon eating his nummy treat. I loved it.
The way he looks up with it all over his face.
It's like it's giving the Trix rabbit finally got his Lucky Charms. I don't know how that one works.
Zach, what's your favorite scene?
Buffy and Faith talking on the roof right before their conversation gets cut off. I love it.
I think mine is the Buffy entrance scene, just because it makes, not that I liked that Angel hits her, not that I like that she's sad, but I think the reactions it gave to me were like, oh, this is good. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't like that Buffy's hurt, but like her acting sells it. And like the fact that I reacted so aggressively to it. Sam Geller just does not miss.
Special shout out to Cordelia getting him to sign this check.
Yeah.
My queen. My queen.
It really, really is like, and it's just like smart and very Cordelia. Like we spend all the season where they're undercutting her intelligence, but we're seeing that she knows what she's doing.
And I love that she never comes back. Like it's perfect.
Yeah. She's fully like, I will be at Disneyland. I hear California Adventure sucks.
Yeah. Probably like, hey Wesley, just give me a call when they're done with this, and then I'll come back.
Yeah. She wrote enough money on that check to take a girlfriend with her. You know.
Yeah, totally. Harmony.
God, give me that episode. Favorite outfit, Ryan?
Favorite outfit. I liked the sharp suit that what's her name? Oh my God.
Lila
is wearing the sharp suit that Lila was wearing.
Kim?
I liked Faith's turning herself in outfit. I don't even know if she was wearing it before, but we got like a really good shot of it at the end there.
Yeah. Zach?
I'm going to say the same thing. I think Sarah Michelle Gellar never misses as far as outfits. I just am not a big fan of the Thanksgiving look. She looks like Thanksgiving, and it just, yeah.
I would have liked that outfit if it didn't tie.
The tie is what bothered you?
Ties in the front. I don't know. I don't like things that tie.
It was a pain in the ass to make that figure, so I had to have little strings that I painted to dangle
from
from the
like that. They never look good because you never get the bow right.
I'm looking on Twitter right now at a figure. Ian, this is your knowledge. Were they supposed to make a figure of Faith for this episode, and it didn't get released? Son of a bitch.
Yep, they had a prototype. There was 2 Faiths they didn't release for the Faith, Hope, and they released the Faith, Hope, and Trick End of Days Faith. There was supposed to be Faith in this outfit and Faith in her red button-up from Consequences in season 3 of Buffy, but they didn't release those 2 Faiths for unknown reasons. Because I really wanted that Faith.
They should release Angel with his shirt hanging open with his belly a little bit. And
it's a very specific one for Ron. Ian can make you that one.
Yeah, I'll make you that one. But yeah, no, I had to make a Faith in Buffy from this episode for the cover. I actually do like Buffy's outfit, and I do like Faith's. Like, they're both, I think, really good. It's not like Buffy's best outfit, but like you said, Zach, Sam Schuyler just always looks good in everything. So like, I do, and I can see what you mean, Kim. Like, yeah, the tie, but like, it feels different for Buffy, which is weird to say because she wears like so many different outfits, but this feels very different for Buffy, but not like, ew, she would never wear that. Different, just like different.
I actually liked it when she took the vesty thing off, but then I kept noticing in the light that like her shirt and her pants were like a slightly different color, which would drive me crazy. And only because I was like, ooh, I like this outfit. And then I was like, oh no, wait, it's just what she was wearing before with her shirt taken off. Oh no, wait, it's like a slightly different color. I don't think I would have noticed if I weren't
HD TV will bite you in the ass every time.
I really think the reason I like wearing sleeveless t-shirts so much is because Buffy wore them all the time. And like, she looked so good. And like anything with no sleeves that's black, like, I mean, anything, but like she looked so good in that. And
it's a good show.
What grade do we give this episode, Zachary?
Oh, I'm gonna do like a solid A. I feel like that's fair.
Ooh, Kim, what grade do you do? Professor Kimberly Ann, what grade do you give this episode?
I got a lot of grading to do today. I haven't done it yet. I'm gonna also give it a solid A.
Ryan?
I'm going to give this a 90%, and I'm going to say it specifically that way because it teeters on a B+, but it's an A. It's an A-.
Now you sound like me.
Yeah. I give it an A. I feel like there should be like a ding, ding, ding Family Feud range because we all gave it the same grade. Like, that never happens.
Well, technically, Ryan's was an A-.
True.
Technically.
But we got A's.
I want it noted.
At my university, they don't give pluses and minuses, so a 90 would be an A here, actually.
I usually go with whatever the cruelest grading system is.
Makes me crazy. I get so mad.
Zach, I'm so glad that I'm glad that you were on for both these episodes because everyone, I'm trying to sell Zach hard on like the show does you better.
I know, but this is like if Faith was here for the show.
This energy you're feeling about this Faith storyline, don't worry, more stuff is coming.
It is.
Wesley locks a woman in a closet with a bucket.
I did forget about that. That is. And that's in my favorite season, but I do hate that storyline.
Hey, we're all going to lock our woman in a closet with a bucket at some point, you know?
All I'm looking for is a man to lock me in a closet with a bucket. I will say I do hate that storyline.
We're taking applications.
I'm just glad that like I could have Zach on for these. I was trying to get Dana on for this episode too, because like Dana's been feeling the same way Zach has, and I'm like, ooh, no, I want you to like this show. You'll like it. But okay, so thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for listening. If you like Slayerfest 98, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can follow us on social media at SlayerFestX98. You can support us on Patreon. Any and all support is much appreciated. The Patreon comes with joining our Discord server, access to all bonus episodes, and more. If you want to follow me on social, I am at ENXCarlos. Kim, where can everyone find you?
I'm on Twitter. Beware, I tweet about footballs on Sunday at Kim and Joe South.
Ryan?
You can find me at Ryan Houlihan, and my other podcast is over at The Financial Diet. It's called Too Good to Be True, and we have our own little Scooby gang where we hunt down scammers and con artists and grifters and gurus and all these people.
And Zachary?
If you search Adventures of Zach and B, My Bloody Judy, or Coffee and Tequila, I will pop up somewhere.
And I'll pop up too with My Bloody Judy. All right, well, we will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.